In 1985, after the death of former leader Nicolae Ceausescu, who was the president of the Socialist Republic of Romania, until December 22, 1989, he subjected his country to a dictatorship.
In this way of life, totally different from ours, French women living in a republic in the 21st century, we can ask ourselves how we would have lived in the 70s in Romania.
At the time, we could not marry as we wished. Ceausescu had to give permission so that two people could unite. Of course, no same-sex marriage was granted.
If one of us was a foreigner, we will have to pay 10 euros a day, the amount that Romania asked foreigners to be able to live there. And if we didn't have enough money to pay, police would send us back home, which means our country of origin.
The country was crippled with debt by the policy of industrialization. In order to repay these debts, the state sold most Romanian products for export.
As a result, there were no longer any basic products in the store like oil or sugar.
We would have been constantly watched. Half of the Romanian population watched the other half. It would have been necessary to constantly check not to be spied on. A cult of personality was established. Moreover, it was the most terrible and authoritarian political police in the Eastern Bloc. The people were poor and terrified.
Everything was rationed. For example, meat, sugar or flour, only 1 kilo per month, or gasoline, a few liters per month. People there really suffered from the cold and hunger.
The rumors were spread by propaganda. The government said that the army was shooting into crowds in Warsaw and Prague, and that it would also do so in Romania. It was also said that the Soviets had placed troops on the borders ready to swarm with thousands of tanks or less.
And to flee, we would have had to lie at all costs and say that we were going to return, otherwise we would never have been allowed to leave the country. To conclude, we are going to cite the differences between France and current Romania.
One of the biggest differences is religion. In France, there is a reliable relationship to religion, or at least less and less people go to church, whereas in Romania, it is very different. People cross themselves as soon as they pass in front of a church. The Christian religion is very widely followed and takes an important place in daily life.
Another difference between the two countries is the education. In France, children and teenagers have a curfew imposed by their parents, and they are naturally allowed to go out to play in the street with their friends. On the other hand, in Romania, they do not have a time limit. It's up to them to manage themselves and decide if they are too tired to go out or not. Education there is based on the need of the child and his own knowledge of this need. It's not the parent who decide if their child is tired or not.
In France, there are many more rules to follow. Romanians live much more from day to day.
In Romania, traditions occupy a very important place. People love spending time with family, friends, and loved ones. The French are generally colder and more distant.
If I lived in Romania, my name will be Anastasia. At 17, I will study. My little sister will be called Hannah. As she is 13 years old, she will go to school. Here is what the school looked like. I had the opportunity to visit it when I went to Romania last October. At that time, children had to be absolutely wise to school, otherwise they were slapped and not necessarily scolded. During the fall, the children went with all their class in field to collect potatoes. Those who were wise and had studied well and who were diligent could become a pioneer. It is a school organization similar to scouting today. Children have always gone to school as they do today, and they especially studied the same things like mathematics, Romanian, Hungarian, biology, and geography. But there are some differences. At that time, they learned Russian and history was taught relatively subjectively. Then, my mother would not work in a municipality, but in a factory. In truth, women were not oppressed. They could go to work, study, or do whatever they wanted, but there was still social expectation, and they were still able to live the same independent life as any citizen. Then, my father would work in a mine. I was also able to visit mines and understood that the profession of miner was very difficult and very dangerous. Some men never returned and stayed forever there. If I have lived in Romania during this period, I will have lived in the city of Balon, which is a mining city located in Transylvania. First and foremost, I will prepare myself with my hygiene products. Then I will spend little time in the living room with my sisters, and this is what the furniture will look like. Then I will leave to study by bike. You could go to university if you were a worker, motivated and quite intelligent. However, it was necessary to have the financial means, since there was poverty due to the ideology of the system. In general, teenagers were going to work as soon as possible in order to earn money to have a future. After studying, I will go with my mother and my sister and other girl in my village, look for water in sources. Then I will go home and my little sister will play with her dolls or hide out since the children played a lot outside at that time. They were outdoor all day. We will go to church as well, and once back I will help my mother to cook. We will cook good soup like goulash and chicken soup. After that, I will mend some clothes with my mother. And before finishing, I would like to thank Raduli Botond, who helped me a lot to imagine my life at that time, thanks to the testimony of these grandparents.